What was that process like of raising? I think so many people are timid to maybe even to bootstrap, to then ask friends and family to get $250,000. What was that process like for you?
I think it's, you know, fundraising is a process, right? So I think there's a lot of work to prepare for it. And I read a lot. I went through accelerator, everyone. And, you guys mentioned earlier, founders not, being willing to hear no. I think fundraising is, the biggest no you'll ever hear. And all you can do is just keep talking to people and keep believing. And so for me, I just had to keep talking and keep asking and keep, sharing what we're doing. And I think
What?
that never ends. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just like the whole sales thing. Would always be closing, and I mean, the fundraising process is also a never-ending process as well.
Mhm.
And you just finished an accelerator program, is that right?
I did. Yeah. I
Uh,
ended up going down to Tampa Bay Wave. It's an accelerator in Tampa Bay, Florida. It was sort of an intention, I'll say, to go there because there's a lot of activity in Tampa right now regarding startups and fundraising. And also, this program was a specific program for women in tech, right? Good initiative. And Florida is a really important state for horses. And just a lot is going on within that state. And so it was like all stars aligned and the perfect opportunity to participate in an accelerator that fit where I was as a business. And I think that's an important part because I think there's lots of accelerators out there now, and I think they're helping companies at all different levels. And I think it's really important to find one that fits your level and fits in what you're trying to do with your business. For me, I was really trying to cultivate the messaging of what my business was doing and articulate the right message for investors. And I think so my intention in joining that accelerator program was specifically to help mature my messaging to target investors.
Yes. Okay. So there's a ton of accelerators. I started the state's first accelerator back in 2012, called Hatch. And a lot has popped up since then. Probably I don't know how many in the state of Virginia alone. I don't know how many in the country. There's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So as you're going through, how do you decide? How do you navigate? Oh, I should do this instead of just maybe hiring a branding company to help you kind of formulate that information. How did you come to the conclusion that an accelerator was that instead of maybe your traditional branding company or something like that?
So, I think maybe it's helpful that I'm not a super young founder, that I've been in business a while, and I knew enough about growing a company that branding wasn't going to be enough if I didn't have the right message to my ultimate consumer, which for this purpose of fundraising is an investor. And the reality is that, while my family is entrepreneurs, they were, bootstrapping in their retail shops. They're not trying to build a, digital platform that wide platform. And so I knew going into this, I needed to fundraise. I knew going into this, I needed to learn how to, I needed to change, but I didn't exactly know what that looked like. And so when I started talking to accelerator programs, I had a very clear understanding of what I needed to get out of it. And it's easy I think if you know what you want to get out of it, it's easy to ask questions of the accelerator program, what they offer and what you're going to learn and how long is that going to take and how much interaction is it and how much mentoring. And, I think the reality is there's so many accelerator programs now that if you're just trying to, swing a cat around, you're going to hit 10 of them, but maybe one is going to be helpful. And so I think the best thing that a founder themselves can do is say, what's in it for me when you're going to an accelerator program.
That's very valuable.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost to the point now where there's so many accelerators that you've got founders that will just try going from accelerator to accelerator to accelerator. And at some point, especially if you want to try to raise money, that it's like, what have you done other than go to 3 different accelerators? You know, where are you at with the product? You know, how many customers do you have?
You think they're just buying time at that point?
Well, right. And that's just it. I mean, it's almost to the point. I mean, it is to the point where you're starting to discredit yourself as a founder and as a business if all you do is just go from accelerator to accelerator.
Well, I remember Vinyl Mint did that way back when, you know, they went through, they were a company that they went through Start Norfolk, they went through Hatch, they, you know, they raised a little money with us, then they kept going to all these other places. And it's like, hello, like, none of these things are really moving the needle the way that they need to. And no, I mean, it's interesting. And obviously they're not in, I don't think they're in business anymore. I mean, I wouldn't know.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, I think if it's not growing your company, I really question, like, why are you here? And we've, you know, gone through pitch events and gone through, you know, startup. We were just down at Startup of the Year. And so I think there's all kinds of events everywhere. You can absolutely have an opportunity to do a accelerator program, a pitch event, whatever, you know, in cycle. But I really believe you have to, you know, take a stance to say, what am I going to get out of this? How is it going to actually grow the business?
Were you looking at it as like a single statement, like I need this one specific thing? And that's that. And so what was that sentence?
The sentence was I need a, you know, verbiage. Like I need a script that will attract the investors that I need. And so we had a PowerPoint, of course we had our pitch, but the story that I was telling, I needed to articulate in a way that was compelling to an audience that might not know anything about horses.
Did you get that out of the accelerator?
I think it helped me 90% evolve there. I mean, I think no accelerator will do everything. I think accelerators help you evolve. And so I think I just keep asking, and it's probably never going to finish the evolution of how I talk about it slightly. But I think overall, it really helped me cultivate that. Here's the message, and here's how to, you know, bring it into a 3-minute sentence.
What was the other? What was the unexpected win, if you will, that you got out of going to the accelerator that you didn't expect to gain?
You know, I didn't really think about relationships that I would build in a program that was only 3 months long, and it was only meeting, you know, 1 week a month. I mean, I think that was wonderful and surprising about real, true friends that are business entrepreneurs. I mean, the reality of being in this industry, you know, being an entrepreneur is it's kind of a lonely place. I mean, you have your friends that were in your world of business and working, but when you're out and you're trying to create something and there's all this, humbling to have friends that are in that same position or maybe even a little bit ahead of you that can help mentor you through where you are. And that is exactly what I met and who I met in that program. That just deeply, I'm so grateful for the mentors that were there, and the program managers are wonderful, but then also meeting female founders that are truly friends. And I think that they'll be friends for life, you know, just either one step ahead or one step behind. And it's just a good group of people that you can talk to and say, you know, how did you get through this?
Was that in person?
Mm-hmm. We had 1 week a month in person. Yep.
So you just flew down there once a month?
I did. Yeah.
And then the rest of it was on Zoom calls or something?
We had some on Zoom calls, but mostly it was just 1 week a month that we were in person.
And how, so meeting in person, so after living life in Zoom for 2 years and then going to meeting and something in person, how was that? What, you know, was it great to see people face to face and really establish those bonds, or was it like, I can do this on Zoom and get the same thing? You know, what was
No,
your take
I'm
on,
all
on
about
that?
being in person. I mean, look, Zoom has its place, but I don't believe any relationships are created on Zoom. I
Yeah.
think relationships happen from, physically being around people and feeling the energy. And so to the point that, going back to 1 Million Cups, like being a part of 1 Million Cups on Zoom for a year, I helped the organizers in Loudoun County get it launched back in person in September, because I was like, this business doesn't happen on Zoom. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah,
I was at a networking thing earlier this week, and it was so bizarre because I saw everybody. I knew everyone in the room, but only from Zoom. And so it's like for many of these people, it was the first time that I ever saw them in person. And so I was like, gosh, I'm looking at, here I am virtually in person, virtually looking to like scroll over to look at the bottom left corner of this frame that I have of them to see what their name is. Cause I'm like, I know who you are. I've seen you and I've been on many, many calls with you, but I don't know who you are. I cannot remember your name. We didn't have that interaction. It was just bonkers. It was so weird.
So you have to remember someone's name now. There you go.
Well, just in the sense of
welcome back to 2019.
But it's so different when we're looking at people in these little squares to then see people, in the flesh. It was just, it was weird, and it was weird for other people because, like, I ran into people that there's 3 or 4 different people that we've had on previous shows, Zach, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I mean, like they didn't recognize me," and I was
Where
like,
were you? Where were you?
It was I can't remember the place, but I was in the Neon District down in Norfolk.
Was there an event or what?
Yeah, it was 757 Accelerate mentor celebration.
Yeah, I think you're seeing it come back. I mean, I think we're sort of in that where people, that are interested in connecting in person will connect in person, and those that aren't quite ready will still, be in that digital zone. But so that's, sort of a challenge for really growing a business right now and trying to bridge both of those areas. But, I think fortunately, if you can get into a group of people that value that in-person connection, then, you're all on the same page.
Yeah, it is interesting too. I mean, I figured it was in person in Florida. It just seems everything's
wide right. Yeah, they're like, what is a mask? I don't know. Yeah, yeah. So, but
no comment.
I mean, we took risks and we did wear masks, and people did have exposure, and so I mean, we all just. It is what it is right now, I think, of our reality. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's not March 6th of 2020. It's different, right? And I think people forget that oftentimes in this scenario. It's like, hey, like things are very different than they were, very early on in the pandemic than they are now, and that means things can potentially go back to a more normalcy aspect.
Someone who's been directly involved within the startup community for almost a decade, I want to talk to you about a serious pain point. Spending a ton of time trying to understand the business landscape in the 757. That's time that should be focused on growing the business. At StartWheel, we're here to help you by compiling all of the news you need to know about in one place. Now there's no need to search multiple websites. Just head to startwheel.org and see for yourself. That's startwheel.org.